Tracking dangerous winds, red flag warning, weather impact alert heading into the first weekend of summer. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods, and we're going to break it all down. We've already been tracking several fires throughout the region, the biggest of which is going to be in Nevada. That is the Connor fire. It was growing pretty quickly. Just after noon on Friday, it went from about 5 acres very early in the morning to over 2,000 acres. So just in a matter of about 6 hours, it grew very quickly. That being said, it's partly because we're under this red flag warning. So this is going to be driven by wind, really accelerating the fire growth and intensity. That red flag warning continues until 11 o'clock Friday night, whereas the valley gets going on the red flag warning a little bit later into our Saturday morning and into our Sunday morning. So about a 24-hour period where the valley will have the highest risk. We have our wind advisory also in effect for the Tahoe Basin, extending right along the Sierra Spine. We've seen wind gusts over 50 miles per hour already. This is all being driven by a low to the north of us. It's going to bring in the onshore flow, higher winds, and dangerous fire conditions. You can, of course, continue to follow this story on ABC 10 Plus, where we'll have extended forecasts and coverage as these wildfires are really becoming a bit more problematic for the summer season, which, by the way, first day of summer, June 20th. It's the summer solstice, so the center of the sun is directly above the Tropic of Cancer. We're getting more access to daylight today and less daylight for the southern hemisphere. So each day we're going to kind of chip away with earlier sunsets and later sunrises. Our headlines, though, getting back to our weather impact alert. When Saturday through Sunday morning, impact being fire danger due to dry, gusty winds. Need to be alert to warnings. For fire, have the go bag ready. We'll go over some of the detailed go bag items in just a moment. One thing that I hear a lot is when it's hot, thinking of fire danger, but that is not always hand in hand. Many times it's due to wind and low humidity. So when we have the wind as well as the low humidity, that contributes to the potential for explosive and dangerous fire growth and intensification of fires as well. So here's what you can see. Yes, we had kind of setting the stage, some heat building during the middle of the week, further drying out the fuels, but then we've got the cooler conditions developing, and we've got the winds coming in from off the coast. So it's not always hand in hand with a heat event into a red flag warning. We haven't seen a ton of extreme conditions through the month of June. In fact, we have to go back almost 20 days to get to a high above 100 degrees. So it's been quite some time. That just further illustrates that it's mostly due to lack of rain and some wind, leading to the dry conditions that contribute to explosive fire behavior. It's been over 80 days since we've had rain over 1/10 of an inch. We had to go all the way back to March 30th for that. And that leads to our fuel dryness. This is the energy release component. What kind of energy is within the fuel that can result in extreme burn potential? We're starting to edge up towards that way. The green kind of the forecast, the white being where we are right now, and then the black line is where we're headed, at least statistically. That's what we look at. So by July, August, as we continue to dig farther and farther away from that last date of wetting rain, we get closer to the potential of a big fire burning. Soil moisture has continued to dry out as well. In just a matter of a month, we've seen the percentile of very dry conditions growing not only throughout the valley, but now along the coast and moving up the hill. This is where there's a lot of fuel to burn and where we tend to get some of our mega fires in the Sierra. Drought monitor not necessarily showing extreme dryness, but we are edging towards that abnormally dry fuel condition, as well as at least the potential for available things to burn. So again, our fire alerts just kind of breaking things down. For Friday, we have it through the eastern slope and into Nevada for the Sierra. That'll be through Friday night at 11 p.m. And then that's going to migrate down the hill in through the Central Valley, foothills below 1,000 feet and towards the delta, where we'll see wind gusts over 40 miles per hour and very low humidity. Here's a look at the forecast model, how things will shift. We're looking at the highest winds in the Sierra through our Friday. Now, we still have some pretty decent winds coming in from the Bay Area for the valley, but it holds higher humidity. Once we see those winds shift to the northwest, that will bring down the humidity, elevate the fire danger into our Saturday. As you can see, we're really starting to see that most problematic along I-5 and just to the west, north and central parts of the Sacramento Valley. Also really looking at some critical fire weather. Our humidity coming down along with those northwest winds. They dry, they warm as they head through the valley. So we'll see temperatures respond on Sunday to those dry warming winds. But preceding that is going to be the higher fire danger with the low humidity during the day. Very little overnight recovery coming our way into Sunday as well. As far as the significant fire potential, kind of covering most of Northern California, particularly for parts of the Sierra with that high category due to the windy conditions. But once we get into our Saturday, that starts to subside, but then it will stay in place throughout much of the Central Valley. Keep in mind that's where we have some of the most critically dry fuel as well. Elevated fire weather will still be in place for parts of the northern and central Sacramento Valley, but more on the minor range. It's not until we get into Saturday and Sunday that we bump that up into a weather impact alert, red flag warning, moderate fire risk for the valley and hills below 1,000 feet with wind gusts over 40 miles per hour and humidity running about 10 to 25%. We had that fire weather watch issued a couple days ago, and now that conditions are imminent and soon to be occurring, it's a red flag warning. Not quite in that particularly dangerous situation red flag warning. We did have that, by the way, earlier this year. That was in Southern California when we had critically dry conditions and a wind-fueled event that just ripped through much of the LA basin. And so that drove these numbers up as well. In terms of our acreage, we're just about 90,000 acres burned so far this season, well ahead of last year, well ahead of the 5-year average. But in terms of total fires, we're pretty much on par for what we normally see. It's just that we saw just about as many fires burn through more acres. So we need to get that proper vertical clearance. That involves not only your defensible space, but also looking at, do you have enough from the canopy of trees? You don't want to have that brush that's very low catch the larger canopy of trees on fire. So make sure you have that proper vertical clearance as well. Preventing a spark, a lot of things to keep in mind for the weekend. Keep vehicles off of dry grass. Watch for dragging vehicle parts. Mow lawns, not dry grass or weeds. So if you're trying to get that defensible space done, just use a shovel and rake for right now. No equipment until we get through this critical fire weather period. Properly dispose of cigarettes and matches as well. Looking at our wildfire emergency items, survival needs include filling up the car or charging it, having your phone charged, have the first aid kit, medicine, food, water for at least 3 days. Also, those important documents, you want to make sure that you're able to get back into your house if you are evacuated, plus any insurance or medical papers that you may need. Your go bag ready with evacuation and emergency preparation kit in your car, and remember the pets. A lot of these emergency shelters will require you to have a carrier for your pet, also an ID tag and some food, medication, leash. You know what it takes to take care of your pet. So emergency notifications, make sure those are ready to go before a weather hazard. That includes signing up for those wireless emergency alerts from your county. This is all developing around a low pressure system that is bringing us cooler air, but also initiating a big onshore flow and gusty winds. On the back edge of this, we briefly get those strong north winds through the valley, and then we'll replace that with this high pressure ridge building in. So we will find some warmth for early next week. Not a ton, but we're kind of leaning into that likely warmer scenario by the time we get to the end of June, beginning of July, all the way through July 4th, and likely drier, but that's pretty much goes without saying since we usually don't see any rain anyway in July. Highs will be in the 50s for our Saturday forecast in the high country. We're in the 60s and 70s down low, and this really, again, driving home the point, it's not due to heat. For the fire weather risk, it's due to wind. We'll have cool conditions, relatively speaking, for the first weekend of summer, but what's contributing to the high fire danger is going to be those winds. We'll monitor that for the high country. We'll see some warmth building next week, but in the meantime, it's going to be a cool weekend forecast for us, getting going for the first weekend of summer with a weather impact alert through Sunday morning. We start to see those warmer conditions developing through the beginning and middle of the following work week, the first full week of summer, slightly above average.